there and the wooden sleepers. Let's start again. Welcome aboard, folks. Dear, live streaming, but it is what it is. Got plenty to talk about this week. I've had a bunch of new subscribers this last couple of weeks, which has been really cool, although I'm probably going to lose a few of them now that they realise what actually happens here on the channel once a week, where I forget to turn the mic on all the time. Welcome aboard to all the new people. Pipe up and say good day. Welcome aboard to all the usual players as well. O'Malley Tours, Steve Klink, Noel Kingsley, Boeing Expert 717, the Van Couple. Welcome aboard, guys. And JK, thanks for coming on board, dude. And here we go again. How have you all been this week? And what have you been up to? You've been chasing any old history? The Van Couple, I know you said been laying low. Easter's a weird time for that. Tend to want to lay low. Don't know about you guys, but yeah, I had a very quiet Easter weekend. G'day, Dan. Welcome aboard, mate. Thanks for coming on board again. Yeah, this is, I've got to talk about that new vid a little bit, which is playing up there in the magic window. And I've got some stuff that came up afterwards that I thought I might mention about the Barossa railway lines. I know a lot of people have been talking about what's happening with these lines and whether or not they're going to be extended. There's been a lot of media about that lately, so I found an email trail which is very interesting to go through, and I'll show some of the images that I didn't use in the video. I went down to the National Railway Museum on Sunday to get some more photos from their archives, and I also handed over a lot of original copies of a lot of my videos for some exciting projects coming up. Damn, you had to work on Monday. Public holiday rates, I hope, dude. And I seen that you have been out and about in the Mallee, O'Malley. Did you go out for an explore with Andy Munro? That would be really cool to see some collab vids coming up, dude. You could get up the Brooklana Bridge, but couldn't find the Boeing Expert. So you've been out and around in Dorrigo. That's really cool, man. So tell us more about your explorations around there and what's coming on. You can find that. I mean, the Brooklana Bridge is easy enough to see from that road and that ford over the river there, isn't it? But it's very difficult to find a way into it, and I wasn't really inclined to go tromping through the rainforest. That's if I'm thinking of the right bridge. That's the one over the Bobo River, right? Beautiful part of the world. Love to go exploring up there again. Bloody dry around here. Although, ironically enough, we had our first decent rain here in Adelaide on Sunday and into Monday for some people as well. So, always the way, the Easter weekend when everyone else is on holidays. The rain finally came. We'll talk about the media that's out there about the Barossa Railway. Some interesting stuff. I wanted to ask as well, because my next project is looking at the Salisbury to Red Hill line, and that's an active railway line, but I want to look at the history of the old stations and everything that's been removed from all around that railway, because as much as it was an important connection to Port Pirie and essentially for the Trans-Australian Railway to connect to Adelaide, for quite some time as it was built from Salisbury to Long Plains to Red Hill, it was very much an intrastate, a standard sort of regional railway that was really important for passengers and freight, much more than we would probably think these days looking at it. So I'm looking for references on that. If anyone's got any ideas of any books or any websites, I mean, I'm in the preliminary stages, so I'm trying to collect as many resources as I can on that. And even Andrew down at the National Railway Museum said, there's not much that's actually been done on that railway, so I don't have a gold resource like Railways in the Barossa Valley, the book by Roger Salas, to rely on this time. So I'm wondering if anybody has any leads on some books about that where I can do a bit of book research, which is always fun. I drew a whole bunch of comments this week. It's always interesting on videos. I pretty much will just say to myself, before I click publish now, it won't be long before somebody's pointed out all the things that I've missed. It's human nature, I guess, and the comments on my videos are probably a bit more like, I don't know, texting through to a talkback sometimes, and people are just going to add their little thing about what they wanted to see or what they were hoping to see in it. But it's interesting. It happens just about every time now. And then we've got Book of the Week. I've made a little note here. Now we're going back to an old book because it's got some interesting things to say around the Barossa Valley Railway lines too. So we'll keep it all related to that. And then there's some interesting news ahead for some possible real-worldy things going on with Outdoors Type. So we'll talk about that at the end. G'day, Heather. Welcome aboard. Thank you for coming on board. Hello. Kawangi is on the road between Oyen and Pinaroo, right? So I've been through Kawangi many times. I'm not sure I've ever found cause to stop or I've had time to stop. Because going from Adelaide to Sydney or Adelaide to northern New South Wales actually makes more sense if you head out via the Mallee and via Oyen and Balranald rather than going up through the Riverland, which can be congested sometimes. So I think I've been through Kawangi a couple of times. If you're going to do a video on it, I'd be looking forward to seeing it. Somewhere in the deep dark recesses of Mike's big list of videos, I'm pretty sure I plan to do at some stage Pinaroo to Oyen or Oyen back to Pinaroo or whatever. That would be really good to look at that. I was hoping to capture it while there was a train on it. That's just for an added bonus, but that's probably not going to happen. The video's gone crazy. It's hit 6,000 views already, getting some great comments. So it's things are starting to happen, I guess, on the channel there. So good. I look forward to it, Andy Munro, and I've said this a lot. You do an excellent job. Go check out Andy Munro on YouTube and Facebook, and Munro Jumpers on Instagram, I'm pretty sure is how it goes. I will actually look up Kawangi now, O'Malley, after the stream and have a bit of a cruise around the web and see what I can find about that. But I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with collaboratively. So talking about Brooklana that goes through the rainforest opposite the bridge, it's so overgrown, the algae is broken nearly all of the... Okay, yeah, right. Yeah, and heading up towards, bugger, I forget, as you're heading up the hill there from Brooklana towards, trying to think what that place is in the middle of the forest, but I can't think right off the top of my head of what it is now, but the dreams of running that railway, I think Keith wanted to run it, relay it and run it down to Megan, I think. But the costs of completely relaying that rail would be out of control. Interesting too to note that when people are talking a lot, and we'll move on to that now. People are talking a lot about the possibility of reopening the Barossa lines, and having travelled the line, and having seen it in the video too, it's not going to be a matter of just opening it up and banging in a few few loose pegs here and there. It's going to be a complete relay of that line. And one of the comments on the video was about the Cromer's Road roundabout just north of Tanunda there, which cuts the line at one of the major intersections. So the line has been removed, and this correspondence will actually talk about that as well. So I'll do a screen cap and I'll bring that up. And so I'll start at the bottom of it. Oh, g'day Trainboy 1200, welcome. If you Google this PDF document is available if you're Googling Barossa railway lines or Barossa railway line reopening, blah, blah, blah. And there is a PDF result there. And so this is a set of correspondence that I think is brought about by a constituent who lives along the Barossa railway line somewhere near to Gawler, and this goes between the member for Light, Tony Piccolo at the time, and the Minister for Transport at the time, and it all happens late 2019, early 2020. So it initially lodged concerns about the condition of the railway tracks, and believe that the railway line from Gawler to Barossa is not being maintained as per the standard of GWA, I think it was at the time. He raised that with his local member, and then they raised that with the Minister for Transport, and then it starts to bounce around, the two guys, and office managers and other people. So again, it's going a little bit back and forth here. But one of the responses from g'day Max, welcome aboard. One of the responses in 2019 from the Minister for Transport at the time, they were seeking a tender for expressions of interest for the use of the rail corridor. And interestingly enough, down here somewhere in the middle, the current lessee of the rail corridor indicated that should a suitable alternative use be identified through the expression of interest process, they'd be prepared to surrender the lease. These documents bounce around a little bit as well. They're not all in order, so you kind of have to read it a couple of times to sort of understand. But what we're looking at here, I think, is some of the another original correspondence to the Minister for Transport at the time, and basically they're saying the same things as we're all saying. We're surprised that it's been allowed to deteriorate. They're not looking after it to the standards of the contract they signed, and at one point this guy talks about it becoming a safety issue because the line is being used by four-wheel drivers, and all sorts of people are, taking shortcuts and all that kind of thing. I can't say I've seen any evidence of that out there myself, but yeah, I guess, good point, Max. I guess GWA probably sold the business to one company who sold the business to another company who sold the business to another company who sold it to Horizon, I guess. I don't know. So that's all really complicated, that stuff. So again, the constituent includes a few images here. It's hard for me to tell where this would be. I'm sort of guessing it's somewhere around the Sandy Creek area by the looks, where there might be some more open space and that kind of stuff. The constituent again talks about some research he's done on the contract and all that kind of thing, which is very interesting. Here we go. Vehicles driving around the gates at Redbanks Road Crossing. I'll have to look that up. Redbanks Road Crossing sounds like somewhere else, but we are talking about the Barossa Railway here. And so, yeah, people are ripping up the land around it, causing, privacy and damage issues. And they keep writing and keep writing. And they keep going. And then someone here brings up the Cromer's Crossing project, where the government, the council, and someone else have funded that project to install that roundabout to improve safety for all road users. G'day, Luggy. We're looking at a series of information about the Barossa railway lines and what was happening with them in 2019. And at this point in time in this letter, the Minister for Transport advised that the Cromer roundabout project allows for future reinstatement of the rail line if required, and the roundabout will be built at the same level as the rail line to ensure this is possible. So and I thought about that when I was out there too. It does look like it's been set up with an eye to perhaps even removing it and replacing the railway line at some stage. Here we go. The constituent again wants to talk about the costs of the Cromer crossing, all that kind of stuff. I guess that's where that letter came from. Then they go and talk about back and forth a little bit between, again, the electoral officers, the constituents, the council, DIT, and they were talking about the grass becoming an issue. Again, they talk about the expression of interest in 2019 for use of the rail corridor. It's all a little bit complicated to me. And then it sort of starts off, if you read from the top, from John G, I guess, who must have been the Minister for Light. At some stage, the DPTI responds there as well and kind of says thanks for that, but sorry, everything's going pretty well here. A whole bunch of corporate speak. But anyway, if you do want to read it, I've put the link in one of the comments on the video, but I will see if I can pop this link into there we go. I'll pop this link into the chat if I can. Oh no, I can't pop the link into the chat because it's on a completely different computer. Maybe I'll have to open up the YouTube chat here. Just give me a minute. Yeah, and that's what I think too. Max, is if it costs that much money to build the line to Port Dock, a renewal of the line to Nuriutpa would be outrageous. And Kingsley, the state government's going great guns. They got massive mining surpluses though over there, so they can spend like drunken sailors and nobody would care. That's my personal view from over here in South Australia on it, and good on them too. But we pretty much have to fund everything big here in South Australia. We have to get most of it funded by the feds. Let's face it. So that link went in there if you want to check it out for yourself. What do I make of it? I make that it's been in discussion for a really long time and there's a lot of back and forth. But at the end of the day, the government just wants to find somebody who can actually pay for it. Rail trails haven't had their eye on the rail corridor yet. There is more stuff. So this was in the past, sort of. Again, I think there's a shared understanding in all of these documents of the need to keep the rail corridor. I think there's also a shared understanding that there's just not the demand. Look, the Barossa wine train and all these tours and all this stuff. These were running, right, but they just couldn't generate profit, right? So, there's not really much point of doing that unless you can generate some kind of profit. I mean, sure, you can put public transport, heavily subsidised or probably soon to be free in South Australia, public transport back to places like Nuriutpa, but I seem to remember not that long ago Barossan people not really wanting a suburban train service or a suburban style train service to run into the middle of the Barossa Valley because the place is unfortunately being overrun by new development still, but there was a desire for the Barossa to not become another satellite suburb or another sort of satellite area of Adelaide. There's not that much space. The Barossa's not a very big region, right? So, what am I going to move on to something interesting? Good on you, Boeing. And hopefully, and reach out to the guys at the Glenray Museum, Glenray Mountain Railway, on Facebook, and they'll be more than happy to take you through if they haven't already. I have a newspaper article here. let me go back to this screen. We'll go back to something that's just not that, right? I was going to talk about that in the next couple of weeks when my grand auntie, actually, the DSL, cuts out articles from the local newspaper to send to me. And so we'll talk about that perhaps in another one. But again, yet another rail corridor caught in a trap between time and efficiency. Now, what was the next one? That's right. I was going to share with you the next lot of news. We look forward now to what the plans are. So this was June last year. And interestingly enough, the same thing is still being rehashed now in April 2025 as if it was brand new news, and it's not. So they've been looking at, extending the railway line passenger service out to the Barossa, Concordia, Roseworthy, even in Adelaide to Two Wells line. And I think y'all would have seen the social media graphics and all that kind of stuff coming out of the government. Well, it's not new. It's been around for a really long time. And even back then, they were talking about spending $10 million, mind you, on a feasibility study. The feasibility for extending the Gawler line to out to the Barossa, Concordia and Roseworthy and creating an Adelaide to Two Wells line are set to be investigated by a bunch of highly paid people, no doubt. And so this will build upon the work already undertaken by the Department of Transport and Infrastructure as part of the Northern Adelaide Transport and Barossa Tourism Train studies. I think that study was back in 2016 when they did another feasibility study into getting the wine train up and running again. So people often ask, where are the studies on all this? Why isn't something being done? But it's in some ways it's almost constantly being done, right? And that'll take me to book of the week. Oh, Max, you might know too. Now that I know you're on board, you might have a good reference book or a lead on some history on the old Salisbury to Red Hill line. That's going to be my next video, and I'm in research phase for that one. So again, if you do a bit of Googling around, you'll glean a fair bit of information now on what's happening with the Barossa Railway, which is not a lot. So we go back to this book again, right? This book is a great book. It's really hard to read, right? But it's a great reference. Thank God for indexes and stuff like that. So it's got excellent indexing, and it enables me to find snippets of information on things that, may sometimes seem unrelated, but there's bits and pieces about the Salisbury to Red Hill line in there. And in this page here, in page 99, because someone else asked too, they mentioned that they would have loved to have heard more about how they intended to get the line from Truro down to the Murray Flats and then further on from there. And this mentions here and I think we might actually remember this with some of these Freight Link and Globe Link proposals they keep talking about to bring the railway and the highway. And the highway is now probably going to be a thing. And the railway was going to follow a similar thing. In 1989, Australian National had examined a route from Murray Bridge to Adelaide that followed the Cambrai line and then north through Truro and via the Barossa to link with the Northern line near Malala. It is believed that a study found it was not a viable project based on a 50-year payback. Well spotted, JK. So they were looking at, I found a few routes obviously in railways through the Adelaide Hills, and I put that in the animation of the possible routes over the hills and out through the Barossa was one of them. But even as recently as 1989, there were official government studies being conducted into the possibility of rerouting rail freight traffic from the Adelaide Hills via that route through Truro in the Barossa Valley. No, not the Coffs Red Hill. Coffs is where I go to probably once a year at the moment. Maybe sometimes I'm lucky enough to go there twice a year. And the Red Hill tunnels there around Coffs, I have I've spent a lot of time around that area over the years. The only problem I have with the Red Hill tunnels is that they're virtually impossible to get to. It is obviously a very active railway corridor. You can't really get near them or get some angles on them. They're buried deeply up in the nooks and crannies of the hill there. So they're very difficult to get to. That's my only problem. And there's not a lot of media on them. I've looked right through a lot of the Coffs collections and everything that's available to me, including some of the awesome books that I've been able to get. There's only a few images of the Red Hill Tunnel, so I'm not sure I can string anything together on that one just yet. But you never know. It could be like, the Glenelg to Marino line, where a reference sort of lands on my email inbox, and it just all happens from there, right? So that was the book of the week. Now, coming up, I recently delivered most of my videos, although I was looking at it today on YouTube and I realised that I'd missed a whole bunch, but you know what, I don't get paid for this, so the filing stuff's really hard. So I put most of my videos, and I'll probably take some more down to the National Railway Museum. And I put it to them that I should do a screening. So that's a distinct possibility in the next couple of months' time. What we're going to do is do a screening session on a Saturday or Sunday down there at the theatre, at the National Railway Museum. And what I would like to do is be able to get a couple of experts from the National Railway Museum to do Q&As and perhaps talk us through from their point of view some of the videos that I've made, and then I can also talk about how I made them and all that kind of stuff. So a bit of a Q&A and a bit of a screening session for a couple of hours down there at the National Railway Museum in Port Adelaide. That'll be coming up in a few weeks' time, and that will be really fun to do, and I think help me learn a bit more about what I'm doing, and help me network with some of the people that are really important in this project as well. And also just to see my videos on a really, really big screen, which would be damn cool. I might be talking to Malcolm Thompson soon, and I might actually reach out to Chris. Now you mention it, thank you, Max. They would, there's not much those guys don't know, that's for sure. Thank you for the tips, and I appreciate that. And hopefully coming soon as well, some of my videos will be on rotation in the theatrette down at the National Railway Museum. So, JK, I was thinking of also organising this kind of thing for when you're in town, so you can be around and help me work on it. So keep in touch with when you're next going to be in town. I'm not in any screaming rush to do this. We want to do it, and we want to do it right. So that'll be an interesting day out, so to speak. Coming up in History Month is the Behind Closed Doors event down at the National Railway Museum, and it looks like I'm going to be able to negotiate some before and or after hours access, because I do want to get into these historic carriages and talk about the inside of these carriages, and talk about the design, and talk about the construction, and talk about the history of them, and also get some beautiful footage of them while other people aren't around. The last 2 years I've been down to the Behind Closed Doors event, and it's just impossible because they're so busy actually on that weekend, both days, that it's just impossible to get footage without awkward random people in the background. And I'm sure awkward random people don't necessarily want to be in my video either necessarily. So it's good. It'll be good for me to get some after hours access and capture something that's really unique, a little bit more of the indoors type, and dig a little deeper into the architecture, the design, the construction, all of that kind of stuff, which I love getting right into. So what I'm going to do now is, the clock is ticking. Oh, now I have to transition again. That's what I did too. I fixed up the logo. I think I'm going to go with that logo that's up there now. What am I doing? Go back to that. And then that's still got welcome aboard on it. Right, okay. You know, this OBS thing's complicated, eh? The Adelaide Dining Car and the Murray Commissioner's Car have fab history. They really do, Max, and I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to being let loose is not the word for it, right? But being able to spend some time in there and look closely and spend some time thinking about maybe getting some footage and doing some narrative and that kind of thing. So once I've got the full go ahead for that, then I will probably definitely need to speak to Chris. I'll be using his resources at least anyway to be able to deliver something meaningful about these carriages and sort of what they've meant to me and what they've meant historically as well. I figured you probably had travelled in both cars in 1970 something, Kingsley. If you've got any photos of that that you want to scan in and email me or something like that, that would be really damn cool. Again, they don't have to be like honeymoon pics or anything. If you did happen to do any rail fanning pics while you were out there, they would be obviously really original and worthwhile, maybe chucking into the project as well. So that's a project for next month. Hang on, is it May yet? No, it's not May yet. That's a project for next month. So I've got a bit of time up my sleeve, and over the next 3 or 4 weeks, I hope to be able to maybe even sooner work up and complete this Salisbury to Red Hill line, just to keep the ball rolling on the channel and let everybody know that I'm still here. Right, okay. Carriage workshop. Well, again, if you've got any images, yeah, man, I'd love to see them. That's really interesting. The Gyra Railway was supposed to connect to Warialda after the World War. Yeah, as far I think maybe what you're talking about there too is they were planning to build the railway, extend the railway from Gyra through to Dorrigo. And it only made it so far, and then the Great Depression and World War, or one of the two, Great Depression or World War One, nixed that idea. Well, there's some great stuff happening tonight. We've had Max back. Glad to have you back tonight, mate. I always learn so much from guys like Max and from like Kingsley. It's one of the reasons I do the live stream is because I can ask questions as well as sort of offer a bit of information and kick up a bit of conversation as well, and that's what we do here on Good Chats. So we've made it all the way through tonight. Thanks, O'Malley Tours. Looking forward to seeing your stuff on O'Malley, and likewise Andy Munro as well. Always love to have you guys on board, and looking forward to seeing what you come out with. And I'm going to go look up Coangi and see if I can find out a bit more about that place. Steve Klink, thanks for coming on board, sir. Noel, thank you as always. Kingsley, thank you as always. Boeing Expert 717. Gosh, I love long, complicated names. Can I just call you Bob? The Van Couple, thanks for coming on board too, guys. Yeah, let us know where you're at. But yeah, Salisbury to Red Hill is the go over the next few weeks. Maybe I'll see you line side. JK, thanks for coming on board. Let me know when you're back in town, because I'd love to have you on board for this screening session. I'm Dave, representing the Wellington crew. Thank you for coming on board. Who else have we had on board? Dan from History Hunter Dan Under. Go check out History Hunter Dan Under on YouTube. Come Hither with Heather, dropped in to say hello. Also, a fantastic Urbex channel, so go check Heather's channel out. Who else have we had on board tonight? Luggy 111, thank you for coming on board again, sir. Always good to see you. What else have we had? Who else has piped up tonight? Bob backwards. Good on you, Boeing. Thanks again, mate, for coming on board. Love to have everybody's input. 12:20 p.m. in the UK. What's the date in the UK at the moment, Max? It's the 23rd of April here at the moment. So, yeah, the UK is really awkward. I think you're like 14 hours behind or something. So it's still Wednesday. Okay, so you are, yeah, about 6 hours, about 8 hours behind Adelaide. These live streams happen from Adelaide at 8:15 p.m. Every Wednesday night, Australian Central Standard Time, or Australian Central Daylight Savings Time, if you want to get really complicated. But I do this at 8:15 p.m. every Wednesday, so it just saves me from having to think about when I'm going to do a live stream, and it saves everybody else from having to think about when I'm going to pop up and do a live stream. I do pop up and do live streams from time to time when I'm out there in the field doing stuff for a bit of interest, but the live stream at 8:15 p.m. every Wednesday has been here for 129 weeks now, and it's going to be here for at least another 129. So thank you all for participating. Always a pleasure to have you all on board, and we'll see you again next week.